Welcome to Ready to be Romanced. I'm Tori,
I'm Jenna.
And I'm Megan.
and today we're discussing
New
New
Moon.
Moon. It's season, and we're back, baby. I'm so excited to be here because we got the gang back together. Jenna and Megan are joining me again to talk about the sequel to Twilight.
I mean, the best book, I feel like, in a lot of ways, of the saga. And I mean, I feel like
Oh my god, okay, so you're starting with a fucking spicy ass take. Please, okay, explain.
mean,
Why is it your favorite
I
book?
think because it's really the one that sticks with you. If you talk to any random Twilight fan,
True.
typically they're gonna remember how they felt opening those pages and seeing the months go by, like Edward leaving. That shit will last on your heart forever, even if you have very complicated feelings, as I do with the rest of like the love triangle. Like it it'll never leave you. You will remember where you were, like 9/11.
Yeah.
Nothing better to remember than 9/11, truly.
Yeah.
Are we getting
No, I
canceled?
know that is so funny. No, I hope not. Before we jump into like what we remember reading the book for the first time back in the day, Jenna, can you tell us a little bit about like your 20th anniversary Forever Forks trip? Like,
Thank God someone's asked me again. I feel like I don't ever talk about it nearly as much anymore. After like the first 2 weeks of being back, I was like, no one's asked me, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm dying inside. But yeah, so this year was the 20th anniversary of the book coming out, the original one, and we went to Forks as most of my friends and I do every year, which also you went last year, which was so exciting.
yes.
But Stephenie Meyer was there, and as you guys have talked about, and it was really amazing. She did a couple events, and she also did a free book signing that was like based on a raffle thing that you can sign up for, and I got that, which was so amazing. So I got a photo in front of Stephenie Meyer with my Twilight tattoo on my stomach showing, and she got to sign my book, and she's looked me up and down and said, "You look good." And I
Wait, was Stephenie Meyer
that
hitting on
means-
you? Like,
maybe, but I definitely think it was also interesting because I didn't know what she would say to my tattoo because I had it fully like out. It's like, what would you say? Imagine you're Stephenie Meyer and you see this freak standing in front of you with a massive stomach tattoo, and which I'm sure she sees a million crazy tattoos. So I wasn't thinking she'd like laugh and point, but I was like so curious what she was gonna say. And I think the "you look good" was the perfect answer because it was a little shady, but it was also a little like,
she's
I
like,
see you.
thanks for paying
Yeah,
my
she respects
bills.
the game.
Thanks for paying my
Yeah.
bills. Like, she can't
No,
have any
seriously.
judgment. Like, that is
Yeah.
amazing.
And then, so she did a Q&A, and all of the people like lined up, and we all got to go to this free Q&A event. And middle way through the Q&A event, which people probably saw clips on and stuff, it was really amazing. She did another random raffle. And in the raffle, she picked 4 names from the audience, and one of the names was one of our friends, Caitlin, who was in our group that we were all there with. And then she calls the 3 other ones, and then we don't know what it's for. Caitlin's like about to shit her pants, and then Stephenie's like, I just want to know if the 4 of you and a friend of each of yours would like to come to have dinner with me at Bella Italia in Port Angeles tomorrow night.
I like how you've already told me this, and I'm still like fucking dumbfounded.
I have not been told this, and I am shaking in my
Yeah, your face was amazing.
Yeah. And so what happened?
So Caitlin took our other friend Eris, and of course all the 4 of us else were madly jealous, but very happy, of course. And they got to have a 2-hour dinner with her like assistants and Stephenie Meyer's husband, Poncho, who's Spanish. And she says,
so
she said, we love to go travel in Spain, and I let him speak all the Spanish for me, is what she said to her.
This is so fucking random.
So my friends took copious notes, of course, which I don't remember half of it, and I won't go to all of it here, but like one of the key things that I remember and loved is that basically it was proven to us that Stephenie Meyer has grown and learned, She has unpacked a lot of things, not perfect, mind you, but she's like talked about, she said the word indigenous at one point. She
Okay.
kind of concept that she loves K-pop, and so one of the people at the dinner was like, "Oh, do you think you'll ever write a story about like K-pop, like that involve K-pop or something like that?" And she's like, "Well, that's not my story to tell because I'm not Korean." Okay, so she
Okay.
turned around. She went on a bunch of tirades about feminism and men ruining everything. What else did she say? There was just like a couple random things that made us all like breathe a sigh of relief of like, wait, Stephenie Meyer is actually not a horrible person.
So give me the redeeming next novel. I can't believe she didn't announce that there wasn't going to be like another novel or something. Give me the updated feminism. I still think it's going to be probably terrible, but I'm going to love it. And I would love to see her do some redemption.
Me too. Me too. Me
Yeah.
too.
One of the things she did say at the Q&A is that somebody asked her what happens to Leia Clearwater, and she says that she has the story like in her mind, and then she referenced how there was three other people behind her, like in her crew or her whatever, who already know the story, and that she said she doesn't know if it'll be exactly a happy ending or something, or like a love story. And it was really vague. And I kind of wonder if she will write it one day, you know? But she did
Yeah.
tell us that she was so focused on writing the animated television show, which she gave us a lot of good behind the scenes on that, including showing us two concept art pieces, which was amazing.
Yeah.
But she basically was like, I've been focused on that and I refuse to let Netflix kick me out. Basically, they tried to get her out of the writing room after a while. They were like, "Oh, you can go home now. We did like the baseline. We're good." And she's like, "No, I'm staying here." And blah blah blah. So she did all of it with them. And I mean, now of the writing part, now of course all the animation will come. But anyway, woke Stephenie forever. Fuck JK. Let's go.
That's so funny. I love this. When does the Netflix thing come out? Like, I feel like
She said like
that seems so
She said
soon.
sometime before 2030.
Oh, dagger to my heart. Oh my God.
That is so funny. You know what? Good for her because I totally get that they would probably just want the IP and then move on. So that's good. And like she knows the characters best, so
Yeah,
she should be there.
you can kind of tell she hates the movies. She like in the Q&A and like in the dinner, there would just be random moments where she would just kind of like has this like, maybe hate's a strong word, but she doesn't like love them as much as obviously we do. Like they
Yeah.
weren't hers. There, she said that in the Q&A. They weren't hers.
Yes.
Enjoy a lot of rights. She was there to make some pointers and to do some things, but like especially the later ones, they kind of like edged her out. So everything that happened in the movies is not necessarily Stephenie sanctioned, which is like for better or for worse. I mean, I'm not saying
Yeah.
she would have killed it, but I'm really excited to see what she does with this show because I think it's going to be a true testament to like what she wants us to know from the franchise and from the books.
I'm so excited for that. Do you like did she ever like talk about what it was like returning to Forks because she hadn't been there since 2010. So this was 10 years later and like since we've all been Jenna multiple times like and like her fingerprints are all over the town and I'm just like curious like
She just
is she excited about that? Is she like
Yeah.
weirded out?
No, she seemed really, really genuinely like humbled and like emotional and like it was really beautiful too because even in the crowd that was there for the Q&A was probably still only 1,000 people, which I guess sounds kind of like a lot, but not really. It was just a small yard of people basically in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was really like I think she had never experienced something quite like this. She's done press tour after press tour after press tour for millions of things, and I don't think she's ever just got to look in the eyes in like the daylight in Forest Washington to this many people and just like talk shit. And she asked us trivia questions. It was just really like random and funny and it was beautiful. So I think she was really happy to do that. And I don't know if she'll ever have something quite like that again. Just, like it's special. And I can't believe my friends had dinner with her.
No, that's insane. Did they get the ravioli?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, that. Like, but Kate, that is just so interesting to me also because these are the true fans. Like these are the tryhards that are here 20 years later. Whereas you're right, when she was doing press tours for like the movies and stuff, it's like those were bandwagoners.
Truly. Like we asked questions that were more in depth and more like she often was like, I had never she said multiple times, I've never been asked that question before. And it was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really beautiful. And I think that she'll remember it forever, to be honest. And I know I will. And I think that I'm excited to see where she goes next. She did announce another book, but it wasn't a Twilight related book. So we'll see how. She said it was really weird and she told us good luck. So I don't
Well,
know.
I'm
Yeah.
like a stan of the host until I die, so like I'll take it. Although was not as big of a fan of the chemist, so I'll have my eyes and my heart open to like whatever it is. I'll give it a
Perfect.
chance. But we should. Tori, have you never read The Host? Did we talk about this?
I have a copy and haven't read it either.
Shut up.
Oh my God,
Shut the
Yeah.
and like
front
there
door.
is also a movie. We should
Shut
read it
the
because like
front door, Jenna. Tori, I'm like, okay, I know she's a stan, but then that is up there for me. I've read that.
I think I've seen the
No,
movie.
the movie is trash terrible. I read like not even you. There's no redeeming. There's nothing redeeming about it. Other than like Saoirse Ronan's great, but like not even in that movie.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we don't need to get off topic with that, but like I feel like I could talk to you all and like think and talk about like what the comparison is of coming out after Twilight, because that was the next book.
Yeah, I would love that.
You're in for
Yeah,
a
let's do
treat
it.
because I really, really, really like that book.
It's some of my friends' favorite book, like straight
Now
up.
I
So
know there's like
yeah,
all the
I've
issues,
only
like
heard
there's
good
still
things.
some of the similar like issues, but like really
Yeah.
page turner. Like when I first read that, holy smokes. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Okay, we'll add it to the docket. Do either of you have any memorable memories from reading New Moon for the first time?
It's hard for me, like as we get into the plot, I have these moments as I read it where I remembered feelings and thoughts I had when I was first reading it about pieces in the book. But I don't have like time, space, place. I'd have to like look back. When I picked up Twilight, when I was in, I think it was like the summer of grade 7 for me. So like I remember
Yes.
that. I was like 12 or 13 and New Moon was out. But Eclipse
Yes.
was just coming out, and that's when I went on to see the Eclipse tour and got my book signed by Stephenie Meyer, and she did an event in Toronto, and I still have my books that are signed by her. And so I'm glad that you got that experience, like, 20 years later, like, or 15 or whatever. That's so amazing. But so I was still like a teenager, like preteen, like not like too much. And I would have read it a bunch and I would have been like super upset reading it that like Edward left. And I would have, so I had all those feelings, but I don't have any like sense memories. I do for some of the other books, but not for New Moon.
Yeah. Now that you're saying that, like, it's pretty much the same for me. I do remember, and I think I told this on the Twilight podcast, but I remember my friend gave me Twilight. I read it in like 2 days in my house over in like one day in the summer. And then when I had finished it, like the next day I was leaving for a family like road trip. And on the way out of town, I made my parents stop at actually a grocery store because it would have been like probably too early for a bookstore to be open, but grocery stores back in the day like had a book section. And I bought New Moon and Eclipse at the same time. So then I just looked it up. So that would have been like it must have literally just came out. That would have been 2007. So I think I was in the summer of grade 9, which I think makes sense for us, Megan, like with our age. So yeah, I just remember that. And it was only it only had come out in hardcover at the time, Eclipse. So I remember I had the soft, like the paperback of Twilight and New Moon. And then I have just the hardcovers of Eclipse
Breaking Dawn. Jenna, you're an adult reader of Twilight, right?
Yeah, I was like, thank you for bringing it up because I was like, God damn, I wish to be in high school.
And
No, I was a
experience it.
full, I guess probably 24, 25-year-old.
Still a teenager, honestly.
Yeah, still teenager.
Yeah, in
us.
my mind, that's a
Yeah.
teenager. Yeah.
It's funny because like no one's a stranger to my story as far as like my parents were dying. I was in an abusive relationship. I was going through a lot, and so Twilight's what saved me. And like, but yeah, to me it was really funny because I was going through like not that you all didn't have troubled teen years. I don't know, but I was going through it. I was addicted to pain meds. I was in an abusive relationship. My parents were dying. I had a mortgage. I had like all this shit going on, and here I was on the bus reading New Moon, you know? And I just used it as a fantasy escape. I don't have any memories of necessarily hating the fact that Edward left, in a sense that maybe my frontal lobe had formed enough to know that this is obviously going to be a story, and like
Mhm.
that's what we have to go through. But I mean, I definitely will think I was so sad. Still, it was just so heartbreaking for Bella to go through it. Like,
Mhm.
I've always been
Yeah.
Team Bella through and through. I think my feelings about the boys have softened over the years, but she's the one I really like care about.
Mhm.
I get that. I feel that too. And like the this is always known as the book that Edward is like basically not in. And so I feel like that I was always like, it's the book that I hate the most. It is just still shocking to me, still to this day, that she builds a love story about these two characters essentially, and the entire second book he is not there. Like that is so, and that he left her, like that is so
That's like
crazy.
iconic though. I mean, and
It
you
is.
like you said, well, earlier off the pod, but we'll talk about it of like where she was going with the story and why this kind of shook out the way it did. Um, so that would be a good, we'll talk about that when you get into that.
When we get into it. Okay, let's dive in. Spoiler warning, we're going to be talking about New Moon, probably some brief mentions of its movie adaptation, but nothing that comes after that. It's written by the aforementioned Stephenie Meyer, and it was published August 21st, 2006. And this opening, we get this prologue. Well, we get a prologue of Bella saving Edward at the clock tower, which I actually wish she axed. I wish the prologue was her dream, but I guess that's how the book opens up. But this is, I think, so smart, and it was one of my favorite kind of depictions of really Bella's worries. But she's having a dream where she sees her now deceased grandma and Edward, and she's doing all these movements and realizes it's her, but he still looks the same. He looks 17 and she looks old, and she wakes up and it's her 18th birthday.
That's crazy. Yeah, I think that it really does show that she cannot stop thinking about her mortality and Edward's lack thereof, and how every day it gets closer and closer to her being this old, fugly bitch. But it's just, it comes down to the biggest question of all. Like, does Edward understand what she really wants? Like, he wants her to be human and to have all these experiences, and she desperately doesn't want that. But he's also right about it. Like, she should
Totally.
just become a vampire. Like, he is right, but I don't know.
I thought it was so funny because, well, I do have to mention before we got there that there was a Romeo and Juliet quote, because Stephenie Meyer is like iconic for putting in these very dramatic, like, before the book starts, which is like these violent delights have violent ends, and in their triumph die like fire and powder. And I just remember feeling so dramatic reading that, and probably it was the only reason why I cared about reading Romeo and Juliet in like grade 10 English. Is like, oh, it was in New Moon, so I did have to shout her out for that. And then I noticed a lot in this book as I was reading right off the bat. I just had much of a more of an appreciation for Bella's character, because she gets so much crap for being a
Yeah.
Mary Sue. But there's this line in that dream sequence where she's like pretending like what she would say to her gran, like, well, gran, you might have noticed my boyfriend glitters. It's something he does in the sun. And I'm like, she's so dry and funny. Like, there are some like really funny moments.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I was building my appreciation for Bella's like personality in this one.
That was another thing that I remembered, because I feel like the movies are more in my memory than some of the books. And that was the other thing. I was like, Bella can be like really funny. And like their like banter between her and Edward like is actually like cute. And I just like that. I don't think that Love and Light came across in the movies. I don't know if that's like Kristen Stewart's like depiction of Bella, but like she does seem kind of like more like a wet blanket in the movie. So forgot that she had some personality. No offense. Like, but yes, she does not want anyone to celebrate her birthday. She wants to pretend it's not happening. So she goes to school, and Edward and Alice are stoked because they don't really celebrate their birthdays as vampires. They like kind of ask her what she wants, and she has one wish. She wants to be turned into a vampire. This is also really interesting because, Megan, like, I also forgot all the Romeo and Juliet shit.
Oh yeah, it's like so heavy because they're watching it in class, and this is when Edward, like this is pretty soon into it, right? Like very early on, and
Yes.
Edward says the iconic like he's jealous of Romeo for being able to commit suicide. And it's like what, like I was like, I'm gonna lose my mind right now. What are you talking about? And so just these like really deep, intense, religious and shame and thoughts about souls that Edward, like we learn about Edward and what some of his hangups are beyond that she just shouldn't just like, become a vampire and give up her human life, but what his hangups are for her becoming a vampire.
Yeah, I also really like this because these parts of the book, because it shows Edward's like flaws, because when Bella is talking about him, it's always like he's perfect, everything about him is perfect and stuff like that. But like we see his ideas about kind of like not giving Bella what she wants per se. Like I don't know, there are some things that I'm like, oh yeah, like we get to see that he's not perfect.
Well, and now have you all read Midnight Sun?
Yeah, I'm still like 80% through it. And like he is tortured. That's why I'm obsessed with him. I love a tortured man. He is so fucking tortured this entire time. I guess the entire time of Twilight.
I mean, for sure. And I won't like spoil it, but like yeah, the end of that, he's like really like it really sets up New Moon in a beautiful way and his departure. And yeah, he just is so tortured by soul stuff and religion. And it's kind of interesting to see how Stephenie plays with this stuff. And we give her a lot of flack rather for being Mormon and what all those things, but I mean, for better or for worse, there's a lot of interesting conversation points. I mean, we talked about it many times with her discussion about pro-life versus pro-choice later in the books. But I don't know, the concept of soul and like, yeah, Juliet and Romeo and like what's right and what's wrong. It's suicide. I do remember I was like, an adult, but I was still just like, should we be talking about this in a YA novel? Like, is that common?
I don't
like
think
books like this. Like
I
didn't clock it.
I don't think I clocked it all. No. Shirley, I will share it. Tori, you and I are the same. Like when I was 13 or 14, like I certainly didn't understand. There were a couple of things that I didn't understand that I can't wait to get into like as an adult, where I was like, oh my God, what did like my teenage brain try to like fill in the blanks for? So yeah, it is like interesting reading it with like a different lens, obviously, than when you're younger, or even just when you're 24 or 25 versus now. Totally. I also want to talk about, well, we don't need to talk in depth about it, but I was having a moment realizing that Bella was a Virgo, because her birthday
is September 13th
is the day, and so she talks about that. She informed me that today was September 13th, and I was like, oh my God, she's a Virgo. And then I just also have to say, she references, which we can talk about, all the time references that she makes to basically knowing Edward for a handful of months, which is next level. But she says, I've been dreading this day for months, all through the perfect summer, the happiest summer I ever had. And I just wrote a note in my book where I was like, give me that novella. I'm dying to know the summer months that happened between the end of Twilight. And I never thought about it until I read it. And I was like, bestseller, New York Times bestseller. If Stephenie Meyer decided to write a little bit about their summer.
Completely agree. Yeah, this is essentially 3 months after Twilight concluded. And yeah, I'm curious also because it would be like sunnier there. So I am curious to what they got up to. We also get the first mention of the Volturi, which is like really interesting because it's like very Vatican vibes, which also plays into that religion kind of motif in this book. And we learn that they're like a royal family that live in Italy. But later that night, Bella goes to the Cullens to celebrate the B-Day, and we get to check in with them. People think that Rosalie and Emmett are away at college, but they were in Africa. She just specifies the continent, not the country. Everyone has gifts for her. Jasper and Emmett get her a stereo for her truck. And then as she's unwrapping Edward and Alice's present, she cuts her finger. Oopsie, the blood drips out and Jasper like attacks her. They fight, like Edward fights him off. They leave the house. This was another thing. I didn't remember how like violent and how like I feel like when Bella talks about it, she talks it like she plays it down because she doesn't want, you know, the repercussions of this incident. But it's like they wreck the house. She smashes into a coffee table and
Cuts herself
like
more.
yes,
glass.
cuts her like arm where she needs like sutures from Carlisle. But yeah, everyone like leaves. Bella to Carlisle's like, well, this wouldn't have happened if Edward makes me a vampire, and that's where we get more info about him like being like, well, vampires don't have souls. That's what Edward thinks, and he would never take away your soul and your chance at having a life.
It is quite the conundrum because she doesn't want a life without him. So it's like, yeah, I feel like he doesn't ever really, it's just a conundrum because like, what are you supposed to do? I get his mood in Midnight Sun of like, I've ruined this girl. Like there's a level of guilt. Like he knows that she's so obsessed that she's willing to die to be with him. That's fucked up.
Yeah, and he doesn't know at this point the gravity of her feelings. So it seems really he thinks that she's making a trivial decision.
There's a lot of like paternalism on his part towards her, which guess what? Makes sense since he's 117 years old. And
that's yes.
So he does, it's like he thinks he knows better, but he does. He has seen much more of life. And so he's thinking like, you don't like, yeah, you have been obsessed with me for 6 months. And obviously I'm obsessed with you too, but you know, there could be more to it. But it is this like love story for the ages, hence all of the quotes to Romeo and Juliet. And references, and so of course we're in Bella's head, and so we know that she's down bad for Edward, and it's not about to change anytime soon. So yeah, I found that stuff interesting. I wrote down being like, why would Edward still believe in God when he's lived through 100 years of seeing humans be the worst? Like he's gone to see humanity over and over and over again, and I'm like, you're so obsessed with this soul thing. I mean,
I know that's true, but in this world, like magic exists kind of like essentially. So maybe it is more realistic to think that
if there was anybody to believe, if there was a reason for him to believe, because he's such a cynic and he's actually so existential, and if there was a reason to believe in the afterlife or God or something good in this world, like, well, and I think he mentions this, but it's like, look to Carlisle, because that's you know, he like devotes his life in these ways to helping humanity. But I mean, he's also kind of low-key cult leader. But
Joseph Smith, anyone? I mean,
that's so funny.
Literally, he looks identical. It's like creepy. I think that this is like where I will never forget. This book is like, as she starts to realize that he is now, something is wrong in their relationship. He is not as well. And I think that anyone who's ever been in a relationship, no matter with the gender or whatever, the relationship has ended badly, where the person you guys were going so perfectly, and then something happens and they start to pull away, is one of the most devastating feelings, because you're not stupid. You're not imagining it, but like, or you're not imagining it, but they will kind of gaslight you into thinking you are, because they think they're doing the nice thing to you.
Oh my God.
And it's the same what it is.
I literally wrote down Edward's avoidance is so triggering to me personally. Like his, because after, so he takes Bella home. She's obviously all fucked up and got her stitches in, and she's been like messed up, and she can tell something's really wrong. And then for like 3 days, he barely talks to her, doesn't react the way that she needs. And it is really, really painful, because she does absolutely know something is wrong. She's so scared. I think there's a line where she like doesn't want to bring it up to not acknowledge what's happening because like maybe it'll just go. And I was just like, it's more triggering for me as an adult than when 13.
No, no, seriously, it is because now that we have like dating experience and like I also just like I felt like him leaving maybe could be explained away. These 3 days I feel like is just him being awful and it is triggering because they go back to his house and they kiss and she says it felt like a kiss goodbye and like that is just I just feel like that's so like I forgot at how like poignant and like really traumatizing that is like because you're like Jenna said and they won't tell you
No.
but you know deep down in your heart that something has shifted.
But it's funny. It's so funny reading it now and like how easy, like there's no nuance to what the plot points are going to be. Like I didn't know when I read it that Edward was going to leave.
Me too.
But it's like reading
Same.
it now. Obviously, hindsight is 2020, but I'm like, oh, right. Like every dream she has, every throwback, I'm like, oh, the plot is just like right there for you.
It's so funny. No, that's so true. He gave her plane tickets to Jacksonville and a CD of him playing the piano. And yeah, they carry on and Edward is gloomy, Bella describes him as. And after these 2 days, he asks to go on a walk in the woods. And he essentially, where she can see her house, but essentially dumps her and is like, I want you to be safe. I want you to have human life. My family and I are leaving. She thinks she's going to go with. He explains that it's just going to be them and says it'll be as if I never existed and then leaves. And she is like truly despondent. Like she curls up in the forest and just like low-key dies until a search party finds her.
And I'm so dramatic. Don't forget that he makes her promise to be safe. That's like the one request he has of her is to like be safe and be, take care of herself and then goes. I think it's actually I love Bella, but it is heartbreaking, but it's so embarrassing that they make a point to say that her house was in line of sight and then she just like stumbled into the forest and couldn't find her way home. It's like a small forest in the background. And then, the search party comes and it's Sam Yulee from the Quileute tribe who finds her.
This is another thing that I wanted to mention about Bella and Edward is like, I just feel like this is a tough look for Edward when Bella is so clumsy and shit like that and human, so fragile. Like she could die at any, like she could get hit by a car the next day and he won't be there to save her. So like what was truly his thoughts? Like ideally she does go on and lives a happy, full life, but like there's a very real possibility that like she doesn't.
Yeah, I think it's just like he doesn't think it through. He's still 17 emotionally. He does have 2 medical degrees, but he is and so like I think he like but I don't know why those 2 medical degrees didn't keep him from procreating with her accidentally either, but that's for another podcast.
I'm dead.
Do you not think that it would be more watch me, I'm like, I know Edward better than Stephenie Meyer knows Edward. I just think that he would secretly stay around to like actually be like, I'm gonna stop a car from hitting her. Like my life's purpose until she dies is to now obviously we can't get that from Bella's perspective because he does leave and that's part of the story and you would but I think he could sneak around and I guess you don't have a story because then he would realize how depressed she was and would come back earlier. But also from her perspective, he like truly doesn't want her. And his breaking up with her. But even reading it when I was 13, I knew something was up. Like I didn't think Edward was just all of a sudden not in love with her anymore. I was just like this. This
Totally.
idiot just thinks that she's not safe and he's gonna leave. Ah,
So true, so true. Yeah. And he couldn't obviously. What I like later on in the book is she kind of talks when she starts going delusional and breaking the rules, the promise of being safe. She's just like, well, he broke the promise first. He said he would never exist. It would be as if he never existed, and that's not true. There's no way that could ever be true. So fuck it, you know?
And I always saw the like not visions she has, but like whatever the
Yeah.
Edward's phantom voice kind of as like at first when I think when I first read this, I thought it was him sticking around and like whispering.
thank you. I wrote about this. I had this moment where I was like, I remembered I was back in my like 13-year-old body, and I remembered I was really confused reading it when I was 13. I didn't maybe understand the idea of someone being okay, so like long story short,
Like psychot.
we're kind of like skipping some pieces here, but right. But like Bella, the way that she finds that she can still remember him and feel like she's close to him without actively trying to remember him and like feeling like that's so terrible and depressing is that she tries to get into dangerous situations, which all of a sudden, like she then remembers his voice very clearly in her head saying like, don't do that. He's quite angry. He's like trying to keep her safe because she promised that she would be safe. And that's the thing where she says, well, you broke your promise and saying that you would never, that as if you would never exist. But I truly thought I didn't understand the concept that she could have these like clear hallucinations. And I thought it was like a superpower he had or she had. Like I thought it was some mystical thing where all of a sudden he's talking to her. And I don't know when I learned what the hallucinations were, maybe by the end of the book or something, but I really remember being confused by that as like a teenager reading it.
Me too.
Well, I don't know if this is, I can't, because it's been forever since I've read and watched the original Interview with the Vampire, but in the TV adaptation, Lestat and the other vampires, or whoever's your maker, you can speak to them mentally, like through. So I
wonder if that's where she got the idea.
Yeah, like there is a part where like maybe your thought as a child making could have been true. Edward could almost be like somehow, but she's a shield, and there's no way she would have heard his voice because he can't hear hers.
Yes,
but
yes.
Obviously, we skipped a little bit because we cannot skip over, like, name a more iconic 4 words that happens. Edward leaves, Bella's found by the search party, and you turn the page and it says October, November, December. And you're like, what's happening? And she's so depressed. She has like no memories of what's going on in these months. It's like true trauma response.
It is.
But name more 4 iconic words back to back in a novel.
I thought that like this was the craziest and most genius literary device I had ever experienced in my life. And at that time we would have been like reading Shakespeare and like shit like that, like some of the greats. And I was like, nope, this is fucking it for me. I truly still believe that this is one of the most accurate, and I know it's like not really actually a depiction, but like this actually is still to this day one of, to me, the most accurate depictions of depression and trauma response and like PTSD that I have ever experienced in a book. I died, and I really liked the way they depicted it in the movie, and I'm glad that they kept that. But there is this quote, and this is when she starts coming back, but it says, "Time passes, even when it seems impossible, even when each tick of the second hand aches like the pulse of blood behind a bruise. It passes unevenly, in strange lurches and dragging lulls, but pass it does, even for me." And that is like, I'm like, Stephenie Meyer is a good writer. So like, fuck all the haters. Like, that is good writing. Like, that is accurate. And that seems very accurate to me. Just this, you lose sense of time and you lose memories. Like, it's known that is like a true trauma response.
And the way that she later on, like randomly, when she starts talking more to the fellow classmates, and they like, she'll be like, in her head, she'll like, oh yeah, there's a faint memory of Jessica mentioning that she did this or whatever. Or she was like, oh, Lauren cut her hair what the fuck? Like I had no memory of that. Like months went by and all this stuff happened. Something that was so devastating to me, I think still sticks with me, is when she talks about how she realizes that Charlie saw right through it the entire time. How
Yeah.
devastating is it
Yeah.
to do your best to keep going and to make somebody else not worry about you and then have them completely see through you? Then again, also go on Stephenie. Like that is a really intense depiction of like being violently depressed and just trying to be like, no, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. And it didn't, you weren't able to fake it.
Totally. Like how much effort is it to have this mask and then realize that you weren't masking well at all. So Charlie like Charlie at one point is like, you got to snap out of it. So I'm going to send you back to your mom, and this triggers her to reconnect with some of her friends. She goes to the movies with Jessica in Port Angeles, and the reckless behavior starts where she does something like this time interacting with strange men, and then she can hear Edward's
she not?
voice.
Frankly, every man she interacts with is strange.
No, literally. And then the next thing she does, she buys 2 motorcycles, or she like finds them, and she is like, I want to learn how to ride this because maybe I could hear Edward's voice again. So she calls up Jacob and sees if he would help restore the bikes with her. And this like blooms the iconic love triangle.
Where the hell you been, loco?
That is so like, it is so good. When Bella first sees Jacob, she realizes he's fucking hot and he's 6'5".
And he's on the Quileute tribe, like not doesn't go to high school with her, right? Like lives further down. And she's like, "Oh yeah, Jacob," and then brings the bikes to him. And she's like, and she actually references his like long, beautiful hair because he's got long, kind of silky hair that he's never really cut off. And like so cute. And I actually have a quote that I really like where, because he's immediately like, you can tell he's like so smitten with her, and he's really excited that he's like, you remembered me, and like I for sure can like work on these bikes for you. And he's like, I think I'm gonna have to work extra to get the money for these parts. And she's like, listen, I can pay for the parts. Can you like make the bikes? And he's so excited, and he brings her to his garage and starts working on that. And he opened up the passenger door of the Rabbit, which is the car that he was working on, so that I could sit on the seat instead of the ground. While he worked, Jacob chattered happily, needing only the lightest of nudges for me to keep the conversation rolling. I actually was like, this is very, very sweet, and like really brought me back to like some like lighthearted high school moments when you're hanging out with your friends and you're just kind of enjoying life together. And I was very happy for Bella. Now I'm like, when I was reading it, then I was like, where's Edward? And now
Yeah,
I'm like,
me
this is so
too.
healing for her. I like this.
Me too. And like, I always think like, obviously Edward is her soulmate, but like my advice is to be with the guy like Jacob, the easygoing, happy like guy, not the fucking tortured, existential, fucking silent.
Corey, why is my brain so Taylor Swift brain rotted? Because you were like, my advice, and my thought was,
Yeah,
ruin
it's
the
ruined the friendship. Okay, but literally be with the Travis Kelce, not the Maddie Healy.
Yeah, he's sunshine. And I was Midnight
Yeah.
Rain. I mean, honestly, I think that Midnight Rain is about her being a closeted lesbian. However, I do also believe that it is her writing about Jacob.
And Bella. No, we are like the 2 biggest fandoms in the world, I feel like, Swifties and
I do feel like she was Midnight Rain and he was Sunshine, and he was always jumping off the cliffs, and her town was like a wasteland, and that song is about them. Okay, anyway.
he's the perfect muse.
Frankly.
And this like their relationship kind of blossoms. They keep working on the bikes. Things kind of go back to normal. She's emailing her mom. Has friends at school. She's hanging out with Jacob. When the bikes are done, they head out of town for lessons. And we kind of get some backstory of Sam and some other boys in La Push. Jacob thinks that there is a gang forming that everyone is obsessed with. The elders like listen to them. He's scared that they're going to want him to join this gang. And he says that his friend Embry, who we meet early in the book, is ignoring their mutual friend Quill and Jacob and hanging out with Sam a lot. He doesn't know what's going on. This is always funny to me because I'm like, they're a gang, but you know of no gang activity that they're doing. Like, they're a gang, but they're only doing like nice things. Like, I confused at how you came to that conclusion, Jacob.
It reminds me of a TikTok I saw recently. It was like an interpretation of the woke mob, and it was just like these guys.
Yes, yes.
Really woke and mobsters. It was like so funny. But yeah, is storm is a brewing and push, and what does it mean? I definitely think the book does a great job at really depicting how young both of them are. They're both really terrified as the book continues. She's desperately worried about him. He's worried about his friends, not just himself. I think it all makes it all much more devastating when he does disappear. Not that I'm not jumping
Yeah.
for him, but just like, I do think that like people really don't give this saga enough credit for like describing like what it is to be a teen and feeling like you can't talk to adults and shit's going on.
No, that's true. And I think that the love triangle is honestly a farce. There's no way that Bella is going to move on from Edward, but seeing their friendship, I think, is really nice. So we get this scene of them practicing riding the bike. She immediately falls off and cuts her forehead, but she hears Edward's voice. So she like is going to continue doing these reckless behaviors. And she like doesn't care about her life. That's the other thing. She's like low-key suicidal. One thing that I didn't remember about this book either is like they are always hugging and holding hands. And this was bad on Bella's part because she knows that when they hug and when they hold hands, etc., it means something different to him than it does to her. But because of the warmth, physical and literal, that he brings, she like lets it continue to happen.
I mean, do you think on some level, because you just said that this triangle is a farce, so do you believe like truly she never really romantically loved Jacob? I know we're not gonna talk about the other books per se, but yeah. Or do you mean like, and that's fine if that's how you feel it, because I see what you're saying. I kind of hadn't thought about it that way. Or is it like there's a reality where she was moving on? I mean, it had been months. I know she could never really move on that quickly, but like I do think she was experiencing what a healthy relationship could have been, and that could move really quickly. Ask any lesbian who's U-hauled, and I think that it's just I don't know, part of me does. That's why I do love this. I mean I think we all were saying like as we're adults we're reading it, you're like, wait, actually I'm kind of team Jacob, like
low-key. Flip-flop. No, that's a good point. And I don't know actually where I land. I'll have to think about that harder. Like I don't know if I believe that it was always platonic for Bella. Like, and I do think like she has like some like maybe like sexual feelings about him.
But then in the end, again, later on and stuff, it's like things change. So who's to say where it is? And the Romeo and Juliet of it all is true. Like Romeo and Juliet are meant to be, Edward and Bella are meant to be. Because I agree. I always see Edward in the end when anyone asks me. It is OTP. That is what it's supposed to be. So like,
yes.
I think though at this point in the book series, it is platonic. And also just to give Bella a little bit of cred, and it is very teenagery. She does not like encourage, I don't think, like a lot of his advances. Like she is a little bit careful about like when it's Valentine's Day and she doesn't really she's aware and she's like nervous sometimes about like how he might be taking it. And I think there's later on in the book where she's just like, I'm broken. Like you have to be aware of
date someone else.
You have to be aware
like,
of what
I'm
you're
broken.
going into. But she does love him in a way where she is like then we're starting to replace the idea of like if she loses Jacob, how is she ever going to like recover from this? Because she's like, he has been the sun. Like he has like warmed me up and like my life will actually be nothing without him, which there's something there. It's maybe not like romantic love at first, or like, sexual love or whatever, but there is
There's
we love some
something.
friend love.
Wicked, anybody?
She goes out to the movies with Mike and Jacob because she invites Mike and other friends to make it more of a group date. But everyone bails because they're sick. Mike gets sick. They have to come back. Jacob drops her off and he leaves because he's feeling sick. And then Bella gets sick. And this is where like shit really hits the fan because Bella calls Jacob to check in on him and he just says he'll call her when he can, and then she never hears from him. So she's kind of getting paranoid. Meanwhile, Charlie is warning Bella of basically like a bear that has been mauling hikers in the area, but she doesn't give a fuck. This is actually perfect for her suicidal thoughts. She goes on a hike and she goes to the meadow where Edward brought her. And Laurent is there. And when Laurent realizes that Bella's alone, he's like, well, I could fucking kill her. She hears Edward's voice say like, lie, lie, lie. And just as Laurent's about to attack her, a pack of giant wolves shows up and chases Laurent away.
The way my heart
Oh
beats
my God.
so fast though, because I think it's like her and Jacob go hiking as they're trying to find the meadow, and then he ghosts her, and so she's like, I guess yeah, I'll go try to find it myself, even though she can't hike canonically. She's like so clumsy. She gets lost in forests. Yeah, there's bears mauling people, so she's like perfect. Yeah, when she found the meadow, I was like, oh. And then also to have a vampire show up, because you're going through withdrawal reading the book with no vampires at that point. You're just like, all right, when are the vampires coming back? And then it was so scary that Laurent is like going to kill her. And then, yeah, all these wolves show up, and it's like a wolf looked at her in the eye, and for some reason, she thought of Jacob.
It's so obvious, but I had no fucking clue at this
I don't
point.
think I maybe did as a kid. I can't remember. I might have been really proud of myself if I guessed it. But like Bella's having dreams about Edward being a vampire and Jacob being a wolf because of the old Quileute legends that he told her in the first one. So there's all these motifs and stuff. And yeah, so Jacob is not answering her calls. She gets in, there's all these giant wolves, and then
She tracks him
Still doesn't
down.
get it. And she still doesn't get it.
She still thinks he has the flu, or is trapped by Sam's gang. But she ends up just going to his house and finds him, and he's cut off his luscious locks, and he looks really angry. And they talk, and he's like being cagey, and he won't give her an answer. And he fucking reveals that he knew that the Cullens were bloodsuckers, which is crazy. Like, we finally get someone else in this entire world that knows about vampires.
Shit gets crazy from this point. I feel like from the meadow on, it all just starts to tilt and it like gets more fanatical. And now we're in the books that we know, you know?
Yes.
yeah, and then yeah, so then she finds him, but he's like, I don't really want you anymore. And she's like, you're part of Sam's group now. And she's like, you're like, she can't deal with the fact that, she's losing someone else. And then she puts the two and two together of this, but he can't, there's this like very sad moment where he promised her the night of the movie before he got sick, and like they were all getting sick, that he would never hurt her. And he was like really trying to make his move, I think. Like he was really feeling himself and so confident and like trying to put himself out there to be like, I want to be with you, kind of like more romantic. And then he promises that he'll never hurt her. And so I think you can see this struggle because he realizes he's hurting her, that he's like cut her out, and left. And then is it that night that he goes to her bedroom,
Yeah.
finds her, and can't tell her? Something's physically stopping him from being able to like tell her what's going on with him.
Yeah, so he basically says, guess what's happening. Think about when we were walking along La Push like beach, and what was I telling you? And she's like, oh, I don't know. Like she's lying, covering up for Edward. And he's getting annoyed because he's like, why are you covering for these vampire freaks? He's also scared that he's going to, we find out about Sam and Emily later on in the books. And I feel like right now he's feeling like he could change unexpectedly because he gets angry and like potentially hurt her. So he's like, I also like, I can't like be here. It's not like safe. So he says it's hard to keep my promise, but I can't fulfill it right now.
How triggering for her to have another boy come through her window.
Yes, because he comes through the window just like Edward used to. And like basically she's essentially kind of doing exactly what Edward, like more or less, but like now he has a big secret and then he can't be with her. Like it is really similar to the Edward storyline, which is like kind of low-key traumatizing. But she figures it out, and the next day when she goes to La Push, she's walking up the beach with Jacob, and like we get the big reveal. So according to the Quileute legends, some men turned into werewolves to protect the humans from getting eaten by the vampires in the area.
Point of order of like on
Yes.
just like how unhinged Bella is. And she does make a couple of comments about like, should she see a shrink in this like book? And I'm like, you should, girl. Like you can speak in metaphors if you want. She always talks about how she'd obviously get thrown like shut away if she talked about like vampires and werewolves and stuff. But before she confronts Jacob, she like wakes up from her dream. She like puts it together. Oh, they're wolves. But the bear that's been mauling people in the area is like she's like, oh, those are the wolves who are killing humans. And she full stop thinks that Jacob and
Is a murderer.
his pack are like killing people. And I quote, she goes, Jacob was my friend, whether he killed people or not. And I didn't know what I was gonna do about that. And
Like she's like that's what she did with
she
the
really
Cullens too.
she
Like
has no moral compass. I will say that like I love that she is committed to her loves, and like that she's a teenager truly. Like it was very speaks to teenagerism of like I will die and love and die and breathe for these people. But I'm like, you straight up are like, well, even if he kills people, I do love him. I'm
I
Edward.
gotta
I'm Edward. Like you're not. It's not good for you to be around us. You're not stable.
That's true. At this point we don't know they're stable because he's getting angry and turning into a werewolf essentially.
Right. But she's still talking down to them. And because one of my favorite quotes is he's like, sorry, I can't be the right type of monster for you. Calls her ass
So
out.
good. Yeah.
You know, because it's like, okay, you're here, you're willing to be around me, but at the same time you're judging me and telling me, and obviously he doesn't realize that she's dumb enough to think that anyway, but I mean not dumb. I mean it's like who knows? It's all mystical, like but
Yeah.
I think that's one of my I loved that remark, and I think it really calls into play like Bella, like what are you doing?
It's a good miscommunication trope when
Yeah, exactly.
he's like, wait, you love like you're okay with the fact that I'm a werewolf? And she's like, duh, I just don't like that you kill people. And he's like, ha 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 ha. Kill people? I protect them.
Yeah, I protect them because we have a peace treaty with Carlisle that we made hundreds of years ago that like the Cullens can't feast on people. But he like still hates them even though they have not killed humans on the because of the
But
treaty.
he hates them like to his core also because their legends say that they become werewolves when like vampires are around. So he thinks that like the Cullens have set in motion all of these young men like turning into werewolves, which is like a terrible thing. Like they don't want that for themselves. Like that's where Embry and Quill like wound up, and that's the secret gang and stuff that nobody can talk about. Like they don't want this for themselves. So I think he's just like hates them on principle that they exist because for them to exist means they have to exist. So I agree. I'm
Yeah.
like, give the Cullens a break. Like they're good, but I get it, Jacob.
I wonder if the entrance of James, Victoria, and Laurent in Twilight is what made a bunch of new.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Wolf's yes, that's smart. That is smart. So she tells him about the Victoria James and Laurent situation, and then he's like, "Don't worry, because we murdered him, and we will start tracking Victoria." But we need to tell the pack this, so they head to Emily's house. They're all pissed that he revealed this to Bella about the werewolves, and he tells her a little bit more about like how his wounds heal fast and that he can hear the pack members in his head. And she tells him about Edward's mind reading abilities. While they're at Emily's house and the pack rejoins Emily and Bella, they say it's safer if Bella stays in La Push because of the treaty, because then Victoria can't attack her. They try to like have some semblance of like going back to like reality, like pre-werewolf reveal.
Right, because it's revealed actually that the people who are dying and these bears, quote unquote, that are mauling people, it's actually like Victoria killing or like feeding on humans, and that this right, and Victoria is actually here and they don't know why, but Bella's like, oh, I know why, because I think she hates me. Well, Laurent reveals to her that Victoria wants revenge to kill Bella because Edward killed James, which was her mate at the end of the first book, and they didn't realize that Victoria and James were like bestie lovers. And so yeah, she's like come to get her. And so yeah, now Bella's freaking out because, and also Bella's like, she's a little annoying at these parts where she then is like, oh my God, I don't want Victoria going after you. And like, I'm so nervous. She's like, she doesn't want any of the people that she loves to be in danger. And then she's like, I'm the reason that they're in danger. But I'm like, all of these people are so much stronger than you. Like they are mythical creatures. Like they do know what they're doing. Like let them.
The other part, yeah, because you're right. The humans can't see the vampires per se because of their speed and stuff like that. So they just see the wolves that come when they're hunting these vampires. And the annoying part about Bella at this point is that she isn't even upset that she's caused carnage in Forks. Like it doesn't even cross her mind that it's like low key, these people are getting killed because of me.
That's funny. Yeah, I guess I don't like personally, I don't think I hold her responsible, but it's funny that she doesn't have like a thought about that at all. Like she's
not
very
one fleeting
she's very teenager. Like she is just thinking about like every time she asks them to turn her into a vampire, she's like, do it now. It's like, what about your dad? What about your mom?
Totally.
What about all this stuff?
Totally.
But yeah, it does go back. It does go back to normal for a little bit as they're trying to just find Victoria, and Charlie's like, thank God that she's not as depressed. Again, like he notices that she gets back to her normal self when she's hanging out with Jacob again.
And she's like, it's been a while since I've heard Edward's voice, so I got to do something reckless. I have seen some of the La Push boys cliff diving, so let's try that. We all live in the like Pacific Northwest, the British Columbia, so there's a lot of cliff diving here, just like there would be in Washington. It is so fucking dangerous. I'm shocked that Jacob even wants to take her. Essentially, she can't wait for Jacob. He's hunting Victoria the next day, so she goes by herself. It's fucking insane to cliff dive when, especially if you're not experienced in this at all. What happened? She starts to drown. And she like straight up like doesn't care because she is suicidal. But she hears Edward's voice and he's telling her to keep fighting. And this is like cool symbolism because she sees like an orange flame in the water. And we do find out that like the wolves lose Victoria in their hunt because she jumps in the water. And yeah, so I liked that like vision that she has. But thank God Jacob's there, jumps in, but like barely fucking saves her.
Do either of you like remember, did you have a reaction to when she was drowning and like truly fully is like, at least in these last moments, I'll think of Edward. She starts to say his name in her head for the first time because she only refers to him as like him throughout the novel because she's too scared. Like it hurts her too much to think of his actual name or any memories of him. So she's like, okay, I'm about to die. I'm going to start thinking of his name. Say, Edward, I love you. Edward, I love you. Like the cold. This is the way to go. I was devastated as a teenager who had a lot of mental health issues, a lot of like depression experiences, and I was just like, I was feeling Bella. I was so sad. And also it romanticized drowning way too much.
And
that's
suicide.
the way to go if I'm ever feeling really bad. Like Bella was like, I'm like, this is not good that this is how she depicted it. But like, I get it. But I just remember feeling like I was probably like sobbing for Bella when I read that when I was a teenager.
No, it goes back to what I said earlier about like how intense it is that she's talking about these subjects and like how kind of fucked up it is. Like, we all kind of as a collective fandom joke about how we maybe have toxic ideals about relationships because of these relationships. Well, specifically Edward and Bella, and this case in point. No wonder, because she's happy to die.
Well, nobody
And like
talks to her about that either.
She's happy to Romeo and Juliet. This is you're right. No one, like, where's the guidance counselors? Like, Charlie, like, read a fucking book, like, because like essentially like love and light to Charlie truly, but like he doesn't really do much other than like let her continue, because like she's not, technically he doesn't see her doing anything bad, but like no one is like really like helping her.
But mind you, in the book, also so darkly, when she starts feeling better and hanging around Jacob, she mentions how he stops taking the bullets out of his gun when he comes home from being a cop. Am I making this up? Like, he comes
Because he thinks she's gonna kill
and
him.
she's really, really, during the October, November, December, he doesn't mention it, but later on when she's feeling good, she like has this aside thought of like, Charlie, stop taking the bullets out of his gun, and I guess that means he's not worried I'm gonna off myself.
That is
Wait, I do
great.
remember
Like,
a comment about that, but I didn't think it was about.
I didn't put two and
I'm gonna
two
try
together.
I'm gonna try to find a quote about it. Well,
That's what it, I mean, to me, it was like fully like he had, for those months, took the bullets out, put them somewhere else. He did not trust her.
No, that makes sense. Why should he?
I honestly, well, the one good parenting thing he did, well, no, he tried his best over the time, but like, yeah, that was like honestly a smart thing to, smart thing to do. But when she started taking out Jacob, he's like, oh no, she's good.
I got it. It says it's some quote which says, I can't find the full one, but it says, when I came here as a child, he would always remove the bullets as soon as he walked in the door. I guess he considered me old enough now not to shoot myself by accident and not depressed enough to shoot myself on purpose. So I don't think that I don't think that, I think he's loading it like for Ed, like, I don't know. It's not about that he thinks she's so depressed now, but now that you said that, I was like, oh my God, it's so.
No, that's a solid point. Okay, maybe I completed that, but
I think it's from Twilight.
No, it
I think
makes
it's from
sense.
I think it's a quote from the Twilight book, actually,
Right,
talking
that makes
about
sense.
him being like a cop. But anyways, it is
Stephenie should have brought that back. I'm sorry. That's like an iconic parallel to bring back anyway, whatever. But yeah, she like did not say, she just, it's just deranged behavior, because she obviously, I guess, didn't set out to like kill herself in that moment, but like at the same time.
Well, what did she think was gonna happen? Like, that actually fucking pisses me off. Jacob saves her. Harry Clearwater, friend of the fam, has a heart attack and passes away. And Jacob is driving Bella home and smells a vampire. And then they see Carlisle's car. And like, as a kid, I'm fucking shitting my pants at this point.
So's Bella.
Yeah, Bella is so excited, and it's starting to piss off Jacob because he's jealous at how much she loves them. And he leaves, he drops her off.
In the moment before Jacob smells the vampire and she notices the car, she has a full internal monologue of being like, if I just lean into Jacob, who is being so comforting to me right now, he like closed her in the car, I could try. I could maybe see myself moving on. I'll never be whole. I'll never be healed from Edward. But would it be so bad to be with Jacob? She has this full internal monologue. That's where some of the like love triangle like building Meyer does, like, in a decent way. And then reading it back, I'm like heartbroken for Jacob actually, and Bella, because I see this as a real healing turning point for her. And then it's actually like we're so excited that like we can sense a vampire is back. But I'm reading it now and I'm like, no, you should have stayed away.
No, and like she's throwing her healing like out the fucking windy as she sees the Cullens
Toxic.
pull up.
To bring the Romeo and Juliet back, isn't there a whole part about it where she's like what happens when Juliet actually decides to fall in love with what's the name
Or
again?
Paris is
Uh,
like a secondary. I think she refers to
Yeah.
Jacob as like Paris doesn't get a happy ending.
Or Rosalina, like, because I think wasn't it that Romeo was actually in love with Rosalina and
so
then
then, yeah, so
finds Juliet.
Juliet
So,
stays with Paris, and then she kind of just like, well, no one even remembers Paris's name, obviously, because that's not what the story is. And case in point, I didn't remember. And like, it's so fucking true. Like, it's so good. But yeah, like you're right, Megan. Like, she does officially be kind of go like, well, what if I could just like do that? Like, would that be so wrong?
Hmm.
I think that's when he answers the phone and he's like about to kiss her. And she has this whole moment in her head of like, should I just lean in and kiss him?
But we find out that it's Alice who has come, right? But then once Alice is there, I think she's full send back
Of
with the
course.
Cullen. So
Of
so by
course.
then she knows that Alice is there, and Jacob says that on the phone, which you can go over. And I think she doesn't. She's not. I'll find the piece, but I don't think she's gonna kiss him. Then she's thinking about Edward too much.
Jacob leaves because now he's back in Cullen territory. So Bella goes into her house herself, and we find that Alice is there. And Alice has a vision that Bella jumped. So she thinks that she died by suicide. And she couldn't see Jacob save her because she can't see the werewolves in her visions. So Bella fills her in on the pack. Bella gets the whole download on what the Cullen family is doing, that Edward has separated himself from his family, but he checks in every couple months. And everyone has made the promise to Edward that they wouldn't interfere. So Jasper doesn't even approve that Alice is there. Yeah, we get the scene where Alice and Charlie the next day are talking about how fucked up Bella was and how pissed he is at Edward and how he could see through her facade. Then we get the next day where Jacob goes to Bella's house, but she doesn't even like. He rings the doorbell and Alice doesn't know who it is because she can't see him. So she's fucking annoyed, but she leaves anyway. And Bella and Jacob argue because he says, you can't be friends with the Cullens and be friends with me. And he like laments. He's like, it would be so much easier if we were both human, or, you know, if this was before this happened. And he's profusely apologizing for not holding up his end of the bargain. And this is when he almost kisses her. And I think this is when she like leans in and has this monologue. She goes, I haven't even made up my mind yet. I don't know. We are basically leaning in and I still cannot make up my mind. But if my true love is
Right.
lost, should I move on with someone like Jacob?
Right.
But then the phone rings, so they don't kiss. It interrupts the kiss. And Jacob answers, and it's a Cullen. And the person on the other end of the phone says, like, where's Charlie? And Jacob replies, he's not here. He's at the funeral, and hangs up. And Bella's pissed because she knows a Cullen had called. And Jacob's like, yeah, it was Carlisle.
Fucker.
The miscommunication trope was troping. This is another reason like that Jacob sometimes pisses me off is because he I guess he loves Bella. So he's doing everything he can to protect her, I guess, at this point. But it's like, he's so fucking, he's so meddly.
No, he's annoying. There's some parts that like once he becomes a werewolf, he like kind of is a bit of an asshole in some ways, and he really like they really emphasize that he really grows up and gets bigger and like looks so much older than he is. Again, a weird like old Bella being young, even though Bella's older than him. And he even starts like saying like Bella honey. Like he like kind of talks down to her, I feel like, in a way that he didn't before, where he was kind of this smitten younger teenager who was so excited. Like
yes.
I'm much more
Yes.
involved, like invested in their love potential as them being both humans than when Jacob becomes a werewolf. And it's too bad because I think Jacob would have been like a better contender in my mind for a love triangle if he hadn't become so hardened, and obviously this trauma has happened to him, but then he becomes kind of like, I know better. And he does some of the paternalistic shit right to Bella that Edward was doing. And that's one
I
of my
know.
problems. And yeah, he's kind of controlling it.
The only way that I justify that, because I completely agree and that shit pisses me off, but like, I feel like it would be hard to stay humble when you are superhuman and you're talking to a human. So I think that's the only way that I like
Just
play it off as like
superhero lore of like
normal.
whether that's really funny. That's really funny.
Yeah, like she's a normie. Like him and his other
Yeah.
super friends are just like, oh my
Yeah.
god, this fucking
We know better
human.
because we can smell better and we're stronger and we can talk to each other in our heads and like all of this stuff. We grow at fast rates and
Which is
stuff.
annoying because like Bella fucking is a simp for mythical creatures. And so yeah, and then from here, talk about like the story ripping off, like not ripping off anything, just like full throttle. It's Bella on her bike about to crash into a tree because Alice comes in.
Yeah, and she's like, I have a vision. Edward is going to Italy to ask the Volturi to kill him.
Teenage drama. No, I'm not. No, it's not teenage drama. People have suicidal thoughts. But for real, Edward, my God, talk to someone in your family.
No, literally talk to someone. So, like, yeah, Alice can't get a hold of Edward. So she knows he's left. Because the Volturi, this royal family, is in charge of enforcing the number one rule with vampires, and that's don't reveal to humans that you're a vampire. So he thinks if he goes to the Volturi and he says, I revealed that I was a vampire to somebody, that they would kill him. And if they don't kill him, he's like, okay, I'll expose myself to enough humans to make you kill me.
He's gonna flash his dick?
Yeah, like that's like essentially what he does in the movie. I saw this on TikTok the other day, just like a clip of it. But in the movie, when he like exposes his chest to like, it does like is like pedo, like he's in this like
his pants are like below his cum gutters. It's
never say that again.
And they're painted on, mind you. The makeup artist painted on those cum gutters, but still, like
that is fucking foul.
There was children there, I'm pretty sure.
Hold on before we get to the scene, because Bella is immediately like, she goes into freak out level. There's like no question about it. She's like, let's get on a plane. Alice is like, the only way we could possibly get him to stop is if he like sees his eyes on you, because he won't listen to anyone in the family whatsoever.
He can't. He threw his phone in a puddle before he jumped on
in a
plane.
in a garbage can in Rio or something. And the reason that he thinks that Bella killed herself is because like Alice talked to Rosalie briefly and said, I'm going to go to Forks to check on Bella because I think that she offed herself and I want to check on Charlie. And Rosalie, that bitch, is like, hey, Edward, guess what? I have some gossip for you. And then, of course, as soon as he knows that, he doesn't want to live any longer, so he's going to the Volturi. Actually, Rosalie was like a CUNT for that. That's not an okay move.
Yeah, that Rosalie is proof to Edward's theory that vampires are soulless, because that is a fucked up thing to do to your brother.
Yeah.
And Jacob's like, okay, Bella, like, I'll watch over Charlie if you need to leave, but I want to tell you, like, please don't go. Like, please don't leave. But she does, and they fly to Italy, and they steal a car, and they are driving through the city. It's a race against the clock. But there's like this huge St. Marcus Day celebration. So there's like tons of people and they're like dodging people all over the place. Alice can see where Edward is because of the vision. So she knows where to go. But when they actually get there, because it's close to noon, Alice can't go out into the sun. So this is like Edward's plan, because he needs to expose himself at peak sunshine.
Wait, for anybody who, for whatever reason, has not read New Moon or watched the movie, when we say expose himself, we do mean he's just going to show his sparkly skin to the humans. I just want to say this was still a YA book, at least on the surface.
Yeah, those fucking freaks at Summit were like, no, we're gonna make him basically nude. Paint those nipples darker.
Yeah, etch those ab lines into that skin. Yeah, so this is crazy. So Bella has to be the heroine and save Edward. So she's like running to find him. She finds him in the shadows. She jumps on him. At this point, he doesn't believe that she is real. He thinks he's gone to heaven. He thinks he has accomplished his mission in dying. And
Oh.
it takes, and this is, it's so sweet when he says like, oh my god, I'm in heaven because I'm back reunited with you, and if you're dead, I'm dead, and we're
He's
in
like,
heaven.
bitch, wake up. I'm not dead. You're not dead. We got to get out of here.
We gotta get out of here. And Alice arrives, and just before they're trying to leave, the Volturi catch them. It's too late. They're being dragged into like the office of the like the literal lair Lair of the Volturi.
And this is where I finally get to speak my grievances a little bit
Tell
with
us.
the movie versus book references. I
Yeah.
these
Oh.
following scenes really now okay, the
Oh.
scenes that they have actually with the Volturi in the turret, is it what they call them? Or
Turret?
wherever the castle. Yeah, turret, thank you.
Turret.
Is that's great. Period. I love it. But like I would have lived for them to really describe what happened in the books of them going down through all of these tunnels and making it so dark and dirty, and then all of a sudden getting to the like the elevator. Like they did not give me that enough that I thought would really add to the story to really make them believable as vampires, and as like this is also secrecy. And then another part we'll get into later. I think they also really should have put in the book. But yeah, I think that this is such a beautiful scene in the book. Like it's so everything is so you're so stressed out. She's really that we've just glossed over the fact that Edward is back. Edward is back.
They're reunited.
We've like waited, and now Edward is back, and oh my god! But we can't even luxuriate in Edward being back because we have to go to our deaths in front of these crazy Italian vampires. And it's just like I think it was really beautiful, like as a fan, it's just like all of them like touching each other, and then like maybe like having these moments of like this is the last time we get to see each other before we have to die again, like it's so beautiful. And we do not get that justice in the movies of how much they're in love and how bittersweet this moment is. It's worth reading the book for just that alone.
Agreed, because even when they're done with the Volturi, there's chapters dedicated to them reuniting that is so sweet and innocent, and really them redeclaring their love, and Edward finally realizing the depth of Bella's feelings.
Yeah.
That we just don't really get in the movie. So yeah, they are heading to the Volturi. It's like Felix, Jane, and Alec, and it's a large group. Arrow is the leader. There's Dimitri, Gianna, Caius, Marcus, a big like firing squad of Volturi. And they like look evil. Their skin is like way whiter than the Cullens. Their eyes are blood red. And you can just tell that they're super fucking old and super fucking powerful.
And gross.
And grody. Some of them have secret gifts. Arrow can, if he touches your skin, he can see your every thought. He tries this on Bella and it doesn't work, which is foreshadowing, we know, for future books. So he's like, okay, if I can't use my power on you, because I want to read all your thoughts and I want to know what is going on. What's the plan with Edward and Bella? Is she going to become a vampire, or is she going to stay human? Because if she stays human, she knows our secret and needs to die. And so they're surprised when he can't read Bella's thoughts. So he goes, okay, well, Jane, can you use your power on Bella? And she can make people feel pain. But Edward's like, knows this and was like, not my love of my life, Bella. So he gets mad. So Jane makes him feel the pain.
Drama.
And they're like they like don't like them, but also want to recruit them to it's like this weird tenuous relationship between the Volturi and the Cullens, because Carlisle used to live amongst the Volturi.
And the Cullens are the biggest pack of vampires that live basically harmoniously together, which could be seen as like a threat. Because most vampires, it said, are actually solo. It's even rare for there to be a duo or a trio. And the Cullens uniquely have a lot of gifts, like Alice's future telling ability, Jasper's impact on emotions, Edward being able to read minds. So Edward and Alice like know that they think of them as threats, and I think Edward can see Arrow's mind and that he's like, I would rather recruit them. I don't want it to be a waste of talent. And also it kind of be good to like break up the Cullens. But it's very clear that Edward's like, absolutely not. I won't be changing her and you will be killing her.
And they think they're weird, the Cullens, because they live amongst humans and they don't drink human blood and stuff like that. So it's like there's this weird like disdain that they have for, and they're mad that they don't want to be them.
Mm-hmm.
They're mad that they won't join their little family, their little clique. So Alice says, well, I have a vision and I see Bella's future and she will become a vampire. So if you touch my skin, you'll be able to see that in my mind. And that is enough evidence for Arrow to release them. As they're heading out of the Volturi lair, we see Heidi, the receptionist, bring in a group of tourists for the Volturi to feed on. So we see like that they are capital E evil.
Yeah, capital V vampire. No, and then this hence becomes my second biggest. But what you said, we now get chapters of them falling back in love and like realizing the things, but we don't. That's like when they get back to Forks. Basically, they start to reconfigure how this disaster happened, how miscommunication completely ruined everything. But I needed the airplane scene. I needed that. Is like some of the like cutest shit. I will never forget the airplane scene. I think that's because this is the come down from like the greatest trauma of us as readers, all of what we had to go through, and now they're back together and on this plane. And she's too afraid to bring it up. Much like the beginning of the book, she stays awake for like 48 hours, and
I love that.
It's hilarious and. I just think it's such a cute moment. I guess it's like you can't really depict it in movie because they decide to immediately they partially abandon the narrator voice in Twilight and then eventually abandon it altogether in the rest of the movies. But I get it, but I don't know. I just really wish we had had it.
I was really unwell reading this part of the book when I was a teenager. So this was the other part that like really hit me when I was reading it now. I've obviously read New Moon a billion times, but I like viscerally remember sobbing. And one of the hard parts for me was that this time where they're reunited and Bella's like delirious and like she won't go to sleep because it's not that she's like afraid that he'll leave again because she still believes that he doesn't want her. And I think she said it like it never made sense because he's like, what can I do to make you believe it? Like, we're back together. I love you. I never stopped loving you. I just tried to do this for safety, which clearly didn't work. And she, at one point, she's like, oh my God, I actually did die. She thinks she's dead and that she's in heaven because that's the only place where like he would say to her that he truly loved her because that's her biggest thing. And as a teenager with like low self-worth and insecurity, I really related to Bella. I was like, Said vampire would never be with me. But just like that nobody would want to be with me, or that she's just like so doesn't believe that she has worth and that she's lovable. It's like really devastating. I was like really, really upset reading that. And then obviously I was glad when Edward was like, when she was like, she has like an epiphany. She's like, oh my God, wait, you do love me. That's part of the romance of them reuniting and her having this big moment where she's like, oh, like I am as important to you as you are to me.
You are to me. And vice versa. Like Edward has the same thoughts about her coming to save him and stuff.
But
like
Bella
that.
needs some self-confidence.
Get a guidance counselor at Forks High.
Giving like whatever Stephenie Meyer was going through when she was a teenager. Like it is very like, I don't think someone can write that unless they actually really know. Like that's really somebody who like knows the mind of somebody who I think who feels that way sometimes. And obviously I don't cry while reading it now, but Emotional.
It's so sweet. And I think, people are so relieved that finally Edward is back after 3/4 of a novel. And the Cullens are back. They meet Edward and Bella at the airport. Rosalie apologizes. And they try to kind of get back to normal. She's grounded. Charlie's pissed at Edward.
Poor Charlie.
He still at this point won't change her, but she kind of has the peace of mind that he eventually will. He says one of my favorite lines about how she will still be beautiful to him even if she ages. And then if she ever wanted something different, he would be okay with that.
Totally allows Eclipse and other triangle shit to happen. I'll say.
That's a good point.
Can I say one of my favorite lines from this section of the book too?
Yes.
Very romantic. He's trying to convince her that he loves her. And he says, "Before you, Bella, my life was like a moonless night, very dark, but there were stars, points of light and reason. And then you shot across my sky like a meteor. Suddenly, everything was on fire. There was brilliancy, there was beauty. When you were gone, when the meteor had fallen over the horizon, everything went black. Nothing had changed, but my eyes were blinded by the light. I couldn't see the stars anymore, and there was no more reason for anything."
That makes me want to jump off a cliff. A la Miss Bella. Bella Elizabeth Swan, or whatever the fuck her middle name is. I love that. One of my favorite quote that I had pulled, because we have pulled our favorite quotes, is one from Bella at this point. And she says, "The bond forged between us was not one that could be broken by absence, distance, or time. And no matter how much more special or beautiful or brilliant or perfect than me he might be, he was as irreversibly," I was going to say irrevocably, he was as irreversibly altered as I was. As I would always belong to him, so would he always be mine. It's so sweet.
My wedding vows, my future wedding vows.
Yeah, but you're like laughing
I
that,
love
Jenna,
that.
those will be your future wedding vows. You'll be like, as
No, I
noted
yes,
by
yes, yes.
Stephenie
I
Meyer.
met my girlfriend at a Twilight thing too, and like if we ever get married, I'm absolutely forcing a lot of this into our vows.
I didn't know
Give us
that.
an invite. I
love
want to
that.
be there.
Yeah, me too. Me
It's gonna
too.
be the
me
Twilight
too.
wedding of the century.
I love that. Fuck, I love
They have all
that.
this reunited, like this intense part of the book, and then, but then Bella's like got her attitude back. She's like, now you love me, and now I know it. We're putting it to a vote to your family of whether or not you're going to turn me into a vampire." Because on the way to Italy, Alice is actually like, "Honestly, I don't know. Like, I'll just do it myself. Like, I don't know why he hasn't changed you at this
Yeah.
point." Which I'm just like, so it's interesting. It's like, what do you think about Alice offering that? But yeah, Bella comes to the Collins house and is like, "Put it on the table. Like, you vote, you vote, you vote. Everybody votes yes, except Rosalie, of like turning her
and
and Edward turning her
yeah.
in. Edward has like a bit of a tantrum.
He has a tantrum, and then they go back to his house, and she's like, "I'll give you 1 year to change me," and he goes, "You know what? I'll offer you a new bargain. If you marry me, I'll change you."
And the Mormonism comes in. Whoop-a-cha!
That is so funny. And like at the time, it is very Mormon, and I do see that now. But at the time, I was like, well, he's like born in 1900 or whatever, so like that's just tradition.
Mhm.
It's called abuse. He is trying to isolate her from her friends and her family.
Not no, like
No, he knows exactly what he's doing because she wants him to turn her. She doesn't want anybody else to. That would be her ultimate wish in romance, was for Edward to bite her and change her into a
Well, and that's the
vampire.
thing, and she kind of like admits it, like, oh yeah, like sure, I could have like fucking Carlisle or Alice do it any day right now. Fuck it, I'll just rip a hole in my finger again and have Jasper do it for this sake. But she wants it to be like,
Duh.
it's like it's giving sexual because she's just like, I want
it's giving virgin, like
venom.
virgin.
I want his venom in me.
Yeah.
Oh, disgusting.
And then we get the epilogue. Things are back to normal. Alice and Edward are back to school. Jacob brings the motorcycles back to the Swan residence. Edward's there, and he thanks Jacob for taking care of Bella. And he says, "I'll do anything to repay you." And Jacob is like, well, in his head, he's like, you could leave. And then Edward's like, no, not that. And I was like, well, that's not really exactly what you just said, but that's okay. And then Bella said, or Jacob says to Bella and Edward, remember, we have a treaty. And if you transform into a vampire, the treaty will be broken. And we will be forced to attack the Cullens and you.
And Bella's like, why can't we
Crazy.
all be friends? But that is a good epilogue. That is a good, like, yeah, thing.
It's good because I'm like, how are they gonna, I truly was bamboozled. I was like, how are they gonna get away with this? Bella needs to become a vampire. She wants to become a vampire. Edward doesn't want to, but he will if she marries
Which
him.
she doesn't want to do.
Also, but if she'll get hunted by the Volturi if she stays human, and she might die by Victoria if she stays human, so she has to, but then she'll break the treaty. Like, it's fucking good storytelling. And fuck the naysayers of Miss Meyer.
I'm sad. We're all sad. A million thousand copies sold later. We're all sad. Oh my god. How we can relive it now, all these years later, and I'm still just like, oh my god. Let's stay on for another 2 hours and talk about Eclipse.
Yeah, no, literally. Jenna, did you have any other favorite quotes that you wanted to share before we do our roundtable discussion?
Oh yeah, like Romeo wouldn't change his mind. That's why people still remembered his name. Always twined with hers. That was one of the quotes I was gonna pull.
I like that.
So iconic line number 1, Jacob calling Mike a marshmallow when they go to the movies because they watch a scary movie and they're all sick, but they think Mike's throwing up in the bathroom because like the movie was too scary, but he just has the flu. And Jacob is like has a fever of like 104 and is like professing his love to Bella because he's about to transform into a werewolf, so he's like not feeling too good. And he goes, "What a marshmallow!"
I love it.
And Jacob, I'm like, cutthroat. And then my other quote, which was very impactful to me as a teenager. She's referring to herself as she's sort of healing, but not really, like when she's in Jacob's life. And she says, I was like a lost moon, my planet destroyed in some cataclysmic disaster movie scenario of desolation that continued nevertheless to circle in a tight little orbit around the empty space left behind, ignoring the laws of gravity. 1, Stephenie Meyer, you can write. 2, that word cataclysmic, which was the first time I ever read that. Like, I think my URL in Tumblr was like cataclysmic disaster for 10 years after, like, because this was peak Tumblr time. And I'm not kidding. Like, it was like cataclysmic disaster was my thing. And I tried to say that word all the time to think that I was
Stephenie
cool
Meyer.
and like referencing, and I just knew that it was a word from Twilight book.
No, I'm
So
fucking
thank
obsessed with it.
you,
No, a lot of
Stephenie
these
Meyer.
words, like,
I'm really glad that you both enjoyed
I learned
that.
from this book series. So the more you read, the more you know. But that actually kind of brings us to a good time to jump into our internet investigation, because that is one of the reasons why New Moon is called New Moon. So this is our cursory peruse of the internet of things you need to know. This is so interesting to me because I forgot a lot of this. Stephenie Meyer wrote a sequel called Forever Dawn that was a book based on 3 epilogues that she had wrote about Edward and Bella as adults. She has been asked many times to release this. She has always said no. But basically what happened is while she was writing this, she found out that Twilight was being published in the YA genre. And so she had to pivot to New Moon because she thought when people are going to be reading book 2, we can't skip. If they're YA readers, we need to continue in the YA genre. We can't skip to adults. So she didn't actually have any idea of what the end of high school looked like for Bella and Edward because she had skipped to them as adults. But Edward came to her and told her that he had to leave Bella. And that's just the first time that a character has talked directly to her. But yeah, and then this is interesting too because she was editing Twilight as she was writing New Moon. So she got to expand on Jacob's character because he actually was supposed to be a side character in Twilight. He was just a plot device, which is so interesting because especially with selling the movies, the love triangle becomes really the central theme of this series. And at this point, it's an afterthought, which again is obviously why Edward and Bella are at endgame.
Yeah, it's interesting. You also, technically, for listeners out there, the Forever Dawn is in the Library of Congress. Is that what that's called?
Yes,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
In the like in like
What?
Washington
Yeah,
DC or
Washington,
whatever.
D.C., and you can technically go there and read it, but you have to like apply for a permit and do all these random things. And there's this one TikToker, I think called,
What?
I can't remember her name. It's like Twi Talk or something. Probably if you just
Yeah.
Google Twilight TikToker Forever Dawn, you will find her. She's great. She went there, and so you're also only allowed like a certain amount of hours to be in the Library of Congress for like a period of time. So you could go like multiple days, but you're only supposed to go. So she read the entire thing in like 1 week's time or whatever, and you're only allowed to take notes or something. And she basically tries to break it down for us on TikTok. I don't remember any of the details. Anyway, but you can find out if you want.
The way that I'm
Yeah.
immediately doing that as soon as we hang up this call.
It's so good.
That is so crazy.
Yeah, I do. I love that Stephenie tries to just change up what she's done over the years.
It is so interesting just how these things come to be. Yeah, she was really sad about Edward having to leave Bella, but she said it was true to his character.
It's true.
So she had to do it. And I agree with her. He is like existential and pining and gloomy and stuff like that. But she says it works because it allows Bella to see Edward is really hers and allows the audience to meet Jacob and shows that Edward that Bella truly loves him, which we see in Midnight Sun. He really doesn't believe. And that, like I mentioned, that he can make mistakes because he was a bit of a know-it-all, paternalistic know-it-all, like Megan said. So I thought that was interesting. The first thing she wrote was the Volturi in the clock tower.
Oh.
This is interesting. She didn't want to use a real place, so she called it Volturin. And she chose Tuscany, Italy, because she looked at a map and saw a city named Volterra.
Yeah.
So she just changed that. And so it actually ended up working. And the first edition of New Moon didn't include Bella finding out Jacob was a werewolf. Could you imagine that?
You mean the first draft, not like the first edition of the book?
She also said it subverts the damsel in distress trope because Bella saves Edward. It was obviously inspired by Romeo and Juliet, and it is named after the darkest part of the night because it's Bella's darkest time in her life. It only took her 5 months to write, which I think is really crazy. And this is another thing, and Jenna mentioned this with the movies, but this is really interesting to me because she doesn't like the cover of the book. She says she didn't choose it, and it means nothing to her because the tulip with the blood, which the creative team mimicked after Bella's cut at the beginning of the book, means nothing. She wanted it to be a clock because of the passage of time and the Volturi clock and stuff like that. And I was like, that's crazy that she didn't get her own way, that it wasn't a clock.
Yeah, but maybe I don't know this about Twilight, but like, what the fuck does an apple have to do with Twilight?
Well, isn't it Adam and Eve stuff, or that's what I always thought it was?
I guess, but it's like I feel like it's just like some catch. Listen, the covers are better than like covers of YA books these days because they just like they're just like more iconic than like a romance novel of like a little drawing of like two people together. So
if you Google Stephenie Meyer's original covers that she like created on whatever pre-Canva was, they're
they're fuggo.
Yeah, and there's like the whatever fan cast people she had in mind for the characters, like in like the Jacob guys, like in the moon, like the transparency turned way down. It's not so. You know what? They should have taken her rights away, and I'm glad they did.
I can't wait for the Netflix show. Okay, our Wonder Whys. These are unanswered questions for the listeners. Does Charlie have a crush on Alice?
My girlfriend just yapped. My girlfriend just yapped in the corner. I think so. I think unfortunately, I don't think he's a pedo.
That's fucking that person who asked that question.
No, that's me.
I was about to go. The person who asked that question is like secretly the only one writing Alice Charlie fan fiction.
No, it's me. I just think he has this reverence for her that like I think is like fucking
Apparently, there
weird.
is a fan fiction of it that's being talked about on TikTok that my girlfriend and my best friend has been fed.
I'm interested in exploring. Fuck Jasper.
Yeah.
Fuck that Confederate soldier freak. My next question. These are questions from me. Is Bella a bad person? LOL.
Like she's just a teenager in love with a vampire and a werewolf. But like when she says, "Well, he's still gonna be my friend even if he kills people." I'm paraphrasing. I'm like, girl, get some moral
And like the
compass
way
going.
that she just like no shade because they're kind of like whatever, but like uses Mike and Jessica and all the other friends. Like she is the girl that gets a boyfriend and then ditches her friends.
Yes, she is. And she has a reason because she can't
Yeah.
say a secret, but that's still not good.
Yeah, I can't ever go against my girly. She's my girl. She's my fellow Virgo. I'm a Virgo like her as well. And I think we just, she knows what's right. And
too.
it sucks that everyone else doesn't know that yet.
There's no way, shape, or form that if the Cullens were somehow living a life amidst like humans and were drinking human blood, like she would be like, oh, I'll still become a vampire and I'll still do that. Like I 100%, I don't like no shade to Bella, she's gonna love who she loves, but I think that if Edward, like he says he slipped up and she or used to kill bad guys and she's just like, yeah, okay.
I think it's a good reminder that she's a teenager. I kind of like sometimes lose sight that teenagers are like this.
Yeah, which is why none of them should be able to be frozen at that age.
Yeah, exactly. This is a question for Megan because I don't know if you would know this, Jenna, but was the audience mad at Edward for leaving Bella when the books came out? Because I don't really remember what the chatter was online, but I do think if they came out in 2025, people would give Edward a lot more flack.
I think you're right that they would give more like I don't really remember. I just like shared the book with my friends and we were probably just like, oh my God, Edward's so dreamy. I don't think he could have done anything wrong in my mind.
No, I agree. Like I wasn't mad at him, but like I am as an adult mad at him.
It would be like Bella on TikTok doing like a story time. She's like, part 1 of who the fuck did I date? Oh my God, y'all. So this guy, he was really rich and kind of weird, and he never slept. But
I think his dad was a cult leader. And I wanted
and
to
his
join.
siblings were dating each other.
How I almost joined a cult as a teenager in Forks, Washington.
part 5. So I kind of wanted to kill myself, but I know I needed to get help. And so,
Oh God, that's so fucking funny.
wait, guys, I think I'm gonna make this TikToks. I think I need to do.
You should Bella POV.
I know some people have done it, but I like the idea of doing it in the way of like, who the fuck did I date?
I love that. I love that. The nickname Jake, Bella calls Jacob Jake almost as much as she says Jacob. Never caught on with the fandom. What's up with that? Not as sexy?
Mm. Yeah. Fun fact, did you know that she named like Seth, Paul, and Jacob after her brothers and Heidi after a sister or something, which is so funny because like throw shade at your sister because I think Heidi's one of the
Yes.
Volturi, like not like one of the like things. But I'm like, where's Poncho's character? You used all of your brothers and siblings, but Poncho doesn't get rude.
A shout out.
Well, yeah, it's just, yeah, I mean, Stephenie was at that point still very in her white Mormonism, and probably, or maybe her family even thought down on Poncho at the time, who's to say? But I think that it is a weird way of her trying to distinguish like the differences. She never gives Edward a nickname.
Yeah, Eddie.
Hey, Eddie.
Yeah, well, he do, but like Bella never did, and so
That's true because he's like distinguished and like
He's
serious.
You know what? It's funny, I still liked Jacob enough that I named my Build-A-Bear Edward Jacob.
I think I did a lot at this time of like it was like in English class or whatever, you had a writing assignment that was like, and you had to pick names. Mine were always Edward and Jacob. Or it'd be like, what are your future kids' names or whatever? I'm like, Edward and Jacob.
Oh, Isabella for sure was the top like girl name. Yeah, I had a Build-A-Bear and I think its name was Edward Jacob Dustin because Dustin was the boy that I had a crush on. Probably the middle name probably changed depending on like who I had a crush on, but I still have that Build-A-Bear somewhere. Oh, EJ.
EJ.
I was before.
Yeah.
No spoilers. I was
Yeah.
paving that pathway
Yeah.
before that book even came out.
Absolutely. Okay, our gripes and grumbles, these are nitpicky problems we had the book. I think we've discussed a lot of them, but I think Stephenie Meyer covers a lot of, like, repeats a lot of stuff that happened in Twilight. So I'm like, edit down, girly. The book's 500 pages, and it doesn't need to be. Bella says some racist stuff. Can you stop calling members of the Quileute tribe dark-skinned or exotic-looking? Can you stop saying things like Quill and Embry are weird names? That's weird and racist. And it pisses me off. And it was so evident reading it as an adult. I probably didn't clock it as a teenager, but it's bad.
Well, and also like she now canonically makes them smell like dogs, like icky.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Like Alice
at
is
the
like,
beginning.
you're totally right. Like Alice, when Jacob arrives, she's like, I can't see him at the door, but like I can smell him, that mutt.
Ugh.
That's crazy talk. That's crazy talk.
Yeah, there were no DEI editors for Stephenie Meyer.
Yeah, and that's bigger than a gripe and a grumble. That's a whole fucking essay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any gripes and grumbles from you guys that we haven't talked about?
Mm-mm.
It's a flawless book otherwise.
Yeah, otherwise perfect, 10 out of 10,
Okay, our side character spotlight. This is a new seggy since we talked about Twilight, but this is our nomination for an unforgettable supporting character who deserves their due. Like, I feel like we could nominate Alice. Like, who do you want to nominate, Megan? Like,
I want to nominate Lauren, who
I was like, who?
as I found out, exactly. Who, when Bella, Jenna, you did reference this earlier, and I did make a note of this when my reread. Bella is like coming out of her depression, is like, wow, Lauren chopped her hair. And the only time we get reference to Lauren in the first book is that she's like kind of a mean girl. And then I'm like, one, Lauren like chopped her hair. Did she become gay? Is she like having a dyke phase? And two, enemies to lovers, Bella and Lauren.
Write that
So
fanfic.
Shout out to the Lauren in my head as a side character who needs that. Jenna's like invested. Thank you.
I'm watching Gilmore Girls for the first time ever, and I'm obsessed with the dynamic between Rory and Paris, which obviously is kind of like a Jessica character, but also is a Lauren character in that sense, and they're combined. And Rory is obviously Bella because Stephenie Meyer obviously watched Gilmore Girls and wrote Bella after Rory.
Completely.
I think we should give some snaps to the Quileute women who are being just shat all over. Emily and Leia, they're about to get it in the next book, and it's sad. And I feel like we're just getting snippets of it.
Yeah, shout out to them. Truly. Okay, finally, let's wrap up with our sequel scoop. This is the tea on any upcoming sequel seasons and the general reception. The original print of New Moon was 100,000 copies, became a #1 bestseller, and was on the list for 150 weeks, so 3 fucking years. It was the most sold children's book in 2008, besides Twilight. So it was #1 Twilight, #2 New Moon, selling 5.3 million copies. It also was the #1 book in 2009. It was translated into 38 languages. Some people have ARCs, which are the advanced reader copies that editors send out to get feedback on the book. Some of them are being resold for hundreds of dollars on eBay. The critics, much like Megan and I talked over many a text message, didn't really like some of the middle section pacing of the book, but they really liked the depiction of human emotion that Stephenie Meyer had. And I agree, like, she gets so much flack for being a bad writer. And yeah, she's not Jane Eyre. She's not, I meant Jane Austen. She's not Jane Austen writing fucking classics for the time.
It's classics for this time.
Yeah, but it's like she is a good writer. Like there are plot holes and there's some repetitive points and stuff like that. But like I don't know, maybe I'm dumb, but I think she's a good writer.
I think those critics were not like giving themselves into the story. We gave, I think, a pretty compelling evidence this episode about how a lot of the things that she did express emotionally was really deep and traumatic and a really great, honest depiction of depression and suicidal ideation for teens. And I think it needs to be talked about more.
Agreed. It has an iconic movie adaptation that came out in 2009, hence why it was the #1 bestseller, which I hope we cover in the future. Also has a graphic novel. And the next book is Eclipse. Canonically, my favorite book in the Twilight series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It ties for one of my favorites for sure.
It's so good. Okay, this was so much fun. Do you guys have any final thoughts that you would like to share?
Can't wait to do Eclipse.
Hell yeah.
Talk to somebody if you need to.
Yeah.
If you're feeling like Bella, or just have any of those thoughts, it's not a joke. Yeah, talk to the guidance counselor. Talk to a therapist. Don't do what Bella did. We know that you don't have a vampire or werewolf in your life. You might have like other horrors. Talk to somebody.
Yes. Parent, guidance counselor, friend, anybody. Truly, do not jump off a cliff. Do not ride a motorcycle. Do not wander into the woods when there are bears and wolves. Take care of yourselves. Okay, I loved this with all of my heart. It is so nice to talk about. It's really, I have to say, it's really healing to a part of my childhood that like, I just feel like in high school, I liked things like Justin Bieber and High School Musical and Twilight that everyone's like, that's so embarrassing. Like my friends weren't because we all liked it together, but like outside of my friend group. And so there's something about this that's really healing to my inner child.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I feel like I could instantly talk about this stuff literally for hours with you, and I don't think I could do that on any other level with anyone else. To the literary elements of it all, it was very, very good, and we should just keep going. Like,
I want to. We should have our own. We should just have a Twilight series podcast. I think. Well, and you do, Jenna. Can you tell the listeners where they can find you and anything else you want to plug?
Supermassive Twilight Hole is my podcast that's currently on hiatus, but I talk about all of Twilight things. I've recapped all of the movies, had a few really fun side quest episodes, and we also do a review of Midnight Sun if you have read it. So check it out.
Love. Okay, you two. Thanks so much for coming on.
Love you. Next time.
And that's the story of New Moon. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to Megan and Jenna for joining me on today's show. I've been posting some fan art and polls and TikToks over on Instagram. So follow me at Ready to Be Romanced, and you can suggest a book or leave a voicemail via the links in the episode show notes. I would love to get some listener questions for our next couple books. All our next couple books are also listed in the episode show notes, so you can plan ahead, read ahead, submit questions ahead. Our TBR is turning 2 in January, which is effing crazy, but we're still a relatively young and new podcast. So subscribing and leaving a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify really helps the show find new listeners. Our next episode is Mate. Until then, happy reading for Ready to Be Romanced. I'm Tori. Goodbye.